We reach about 1 billion people a month. To put it into context, one in every two 18 to 30-year-olds in the UK follows LADbible, and with that amount of influence, we want to be responsible with that, and we want to do some great things. So what we're going to talk about today is our latest campaign, which is the Trash Aisles. It's our most successful campaign to date, and I'll start by just introducing the panel. We've got Ross Kemp, who many of you guys will know. He's a BAFTA award-winning journalist. Travelled the world. Mitchell. We've got Sarah Roberts. She is a Trash Aisles ambassador. She is an author. She's also an environmental activist, and she's an absolute amazing person. We've got Stephen, who is our LADbible's head of marketing and design, and he has really kind of pushed this campaign through and has had a lot of success with it. And we've got Jeff Brighty, who is one of the world's leading scientists, particularly when it comes to plastics, and he's also involved with Plastic Oceans Foundation, which have been really challenging this issue for a very long time.
Use or where they dump it, and it hasn't been picked up on the streets of Tripoli, I would suggest, for at least 7 or 8 years, and it is just piling by the roads. And why something are biodegradable plastic certainly isn't, right? Once it's deposited, it's there possibly for a very, very long time. I couldn't tell you how long. So having travelled around the world, I've seen plastic virtually everywhere I've been. I was in Mongolia towards the end of last year, and out in the Gobi Desert, I mean, you just come across piles of it. I mean, circulating in wind, many kind of hurricanes. It's everywhere. I think well, my generation particularly, the plastic generation, we are creating a mess for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, and I don't think we're really aware of just how much damage we're actually doing, and we can do something about it. We can do something about it right now, and that's why I was so excited when I was asked to be a part of this campaign. And if a country like Rwanda, that has suffered greatly and deeply, can ban plastic bags and maintain a ban to the point that people come in from the Congo, smuggle them in, and end up in prison for doing so, then why the hell can't we ban them?
First of all, my background is actually, I'm a naturalist. So I've spent some time working in the rainforest, working with grizzly bears. I've worked with sharks in the Bahamas. I've worked in Africa. And now I'm sat next to Ross Kemp having a mini heart attack. But basically, I never really thought that I would be sat here doing this. Like, my whole ambition has always been to get as far away from people as possible and to get off the beaten track. And what I've found is the further off grid I've got, the worse the problem is in some respects. I've even seen plastic bags in the middle of the African bush, elands in fact, which if you ever Google one, it kind of looks a little bit like a unicorn. But I've seen them die from eating plastic bags. And equally, I've been in the beaches in Indonesia looking at shark finning and finding that plastic's actually a much bigger problem. So for me, I can't actually go back and do that career anymore, because the more I've seen, the more responsibility I've got to actually be here communicating and trying to do something about it. So that's why I'm on this campaign. Take the medical world, for example, or even just like look at your house with the double glazing, or you get in your car and you think everything in there is plastic, It's not something that we can just eradicate overnight. I've kind of taken a little bit of a different approach in that for the last 2 months, I'd say, I've been on a little bit of a mad roller coaster, meeting CEOs and random plastic federation people, one after another, and actually kind of investigating how this world is changing. Because There's a lot of media out there that really attacks the plastic industry, almost scapegoats it, and kind of removes us from our own responsibility of our actions. I think actually we need the innovators within that industry to help us make this change for the better and to actually move forward. And education really does play key as well. I have a children's picture book, Somebody Swallowed Stanley, which is about a jellyfish that's no ordinary jellyfish. I've been using that in schools all around the world actually to teach about this, and our big project at the moment is to get that in every school in the UK. We're working with a number of different corporates on that, but actually to get plastic higher up the curriculum from an early age, so that people learn that there's loads of different plastics out there and actually get some sort of value to it. To begin with, because unless we do have a value to it, it is always going to remain as a bit of a throwaway culture, unfortunately. Island of trash as such. This is a metaphor. If there was, life would be a hell of a lot easier. What it is number of plastic particles that are split between the water column, right the way from the seabed, which is miles down, right the way up to the surface. Actually getting those and collecting them at this point in time is pretty much impossible. There's a few projects out there, like the Ocean Cleanup Project, that's been going for years and years. I believe they've now launched their prototype, which is essentially a great big floating barrier, which is located in one of these gyres. So the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, that's just one of the gyres. It's everywhere where these currents meet. So all around the world there are these gyres where there just happens to be a higher concentration of plastic. And so this guy's actually basically put this device there to try and collect the stuff on the surface. Really, there's no easy fix. A lot of the plastic that we've got in the ocean that we know has gone into the ocean, we don't know where it is. It's sunk. It's gone to the seabed. Some of that plastic is in the contents of fish, is in 90% of seabirds' stomachs, I believe, and actually back on our dinner table in salt. So actually getting the plastic back out of the environment is one of the biggest challenges and probably the most intimidating challenge that we face, which is why most people right now are looking to stop it at source. That's the first move. There are a few different innovative designs, but actually doing it, it might be a case now that we have to hope to God that when it sinks, it's going to get covered by more and more sediment and more sediment until it eventually is buried. But we've got a really long time. I mean, these estimates of a plastic bottle taking 1,000 years to break down, who's going to live 1,000 years to actually check that's the time length? We don't really know. A lot of things are based on estimations, so the actual topic's way more intense than unfortunately I wanted to say, but yeah, it's a big one.